and we'll be linking in the chat about the work that they do, and excited for the contributors and staff of the Arkansas International to be reading with us tonight. And with that, we will get started with our first opening reader, Brandon Thurman.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for having me here this morning. This evening. I don't know where I am in time right now. I'm going to read a couple of complicated love poems. The first one I'm going to read is called My Mother Teaches Me That Sound Travels 1 mile per second. In a moment, we become the cloud. See how quickly the mountain weather can change, something new blowing over us in the moment it takes for me to peek over at you, back. From inside the cloud, we can't see the overlook into the valley that, we admit to each other, had failed to impress us. For our eyes have seen the glory of the IMAX sci-fi rom-com, the special effects of tomorrow. It's funny what a century can do, what even a decade can gloss over. My little sister poking fun at the effects in my Lord of the Rings extended edition box sets, every second of which my adolescent eyes had surely worshipped. Surely some colonialist has once been knocked on his knees by this view that this cloud has now, in our century, in this moment, obscured. And yes, we woke in this cabin's bed to our mouths all over each other, the rain pummeling against us, the fast clouds still far off and above. From far off, I saw lightning strike a pine tree and brace for thunder. When I was young, I would sit at the window and count the seconds between the light and its crack, gauging the danger's distance. The day the house shook in tune with my skull, I didn't have to count to know. I could smell the burning. The day I came home to a map tied to my doorknob, I knew you were going to ask. I knew you were out there waiting in that wet January cold for me. But, and I've never told you this, I dropped onto the couch and began counting my breaths. Even though you were waiting, cold, for me, I counted to 100, 200, 3. See, I couldn't tell anymore what I wanted, who, why. One divorce already in my pocket, the ghost of a family behind me, a grief as distant and dangerous and suddenly there as this summer storm. Just months before Thanksgiving, chopping broccoli for a salad, my mother's recipe, I stopped and threw my knife across the kitchen, screaming at you. No, not at you, at my family who wasn't standing behind you. Love is not mythic, is not Disney, is not anything but a drop off, a cliff, an overlook concealed by a cloud. So how could I say yes? How could I open again? 400, 5. I don't remember deciding. Sometimes there's no decision, just what comes next. Me at the lake walking towards you, to the X you'd marked for me on the map. You were shaking, ice crystals in your eyelashes. I don't remember you asking. I don't remember saying yes. Your breath pouring out of you in a cloud around us. I'm going to read one more. This one is called Hymn for the End of Days. We woke this morning to news that the last colony has collapsed. I absently stir into my morning coffee the nectar of a desert plant, hardy as the human tongue's hunger for sweetness. In the garden, we pollinate by hand, brushing squash blossoms together, anther to anther. When we were dating, the cologne you wore was called Smokewood Apiary. The first time we shed each other's clothes, I nuzzled into your neck, our skin hummed. You smelled like a hive on fire. The flowers have begun to die, heavy with pollen, so we gather withered baby's breath instead, the empty seed pods of a magnolia, dried lavender. We earn them on the table between us. Before we eat, we praise their beauty. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you for those poems. It was wonderful. I love like the pair of these together works so well, and how they both speak about the effect of time and like how time affects those moving through it. And like the nature images were all so gorgeous. So thank you for those. Our next reader is Claire Scott.
I'm going to read 2 poems tonight. This first one is called Covington. I'll squeeze every bit of sweet out of this popsicle. The fireflies stay up late and dance with us in the dark. My dad and his friends set up the swing set. They were paid with beer and took breaks to spit into plastic cups. Everything feels like hope. If we swing too high, it all starts to lift off the ground. One of the swings creaks. We turn over rocks looking for worms, dangling them and feeling them twist in our hands. The yard slopes downward. It's gradual. This whole neighborhood, whole city, is built on the rising and falling of the Ozarks. When we moved in, the house behind us wasn't even built. Fences popped up around us one by one. No one had ever lived here except us. I met Michelle from Ohio before Maddie moved back to Kansas. Bike parades and Easter egg hunts. Less than a mile from 8 years of school, just some curvy ups and downs. It was rumored there was a commune out behind the cul-de-sac. If you cut through the right yards, we could emerge in different subdivisions. Everyone was nearby unless they lived in Goshen. I was taught to never lie. Before we left, I clung to that porch. None of it would be the same anymore. The furniture is all different, but maybe they kept the basketball goal. It was the safest place I could have been. I kick my soccer ball against the brick wall and am told I'm making too much noise. The fence is louder. Also, my cat has the zoomies right in front of me and is like skittering across the floor, so I'm trying to stay focused. The second poem is called Spider Hunger. I feel like Carrie at the end of the movie, sweating blood into my eyes as soon as there's potential. Mom says I give my whole self away each time, like it's a sin. I come home, unzip my stained dress, rub my face raw, bathe in my own rage. Mom says stay safe, assume nothing. A man will make his interests clear. Nothing about women or what to do when my desire presses down on my windpipe. I'm jealous of the wolf spider, whose mode of hunger manifests in so delicate a craft. Her deceitful ensnaring while my pain pushes through my pores. Mom says I should wait until I hurt less. I could never weave a tapestry that stays taut despite the breeze, sparkles, and 3 p.m. sunlight. If it's real enough to sting, I'll send it up in smoke.
Different they are, but also, they speak to home, this interesting sense of belonging there. I love that moment. The first one in Covington, you just go, it's gradual, and the poem kind of reveals what it's doing in that moment, continues to do that thing. That's just very, very masterful to me. Also, any poem that has a Carrie reference in it is going to be exciting to me. So thank you for reading Spider Hunger as well. That's a lot of fun. Thank you. Our next opening reader is Daniel.
My gosh. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Open Mouth and Arkansas International, for having me. I am going to read 2 poems for y'all this evening, or unless it's not evening where y'all are. But just wanted to offer, before I read, a brief content warning. Nothing is overly explicit. But there are references to sex and abuse in my poems, or at least in the 2 that I have for y'all. Yeah, I had something else I was gonna say, but I don't remember what that was, so I'm just gonna dive in. So this first poem in case there's anybody who is not following along by way of like the Google Doc that was dropped in the chat, I'm going to read this as a sort of numbered poem, as if it were enumerated. You'll see once I get into the title, but as vocal cues for the readers, or not readers, but for y'all who are listening right now, I'll read it as if it is numbered, even though it technically isn't. But without further ado, this first poem that I have for y'all is called 11 Ways of Looking at a Sunset or My Abusive Relationship. 1. Pastel mimicry, as if a lover's bladed hand of night. Each word is what I swallow beside a bruise. Darling, I still love you. 2. A hungry scalpel through a pink rift, spilling. Love cleaves the abuse, the horizon spreading and fading from what remains. 3. A muffled exit, a wound into the world. Across my tongue, a strange ache. The words, stay with me. Don't worry, I will. 4. Pastel mimicry, as if a hungry scalpel, a lover's bladed hand through a pink rift of night, spilling each word. Love cleaves is what I swallow beside the abuse, the horizon a bruise, spreading and fading. Darling, I still love you from what remains. 5. A hungry scalpel, a muffled exit through a pink rift, a wound spilling into the world. Love cleaves across my tongue, the abuse, the horizon a strange ache, spreading and fading. The words, stay with me from what remains. Don't worry, I will. 6. Pastel mimicry, as if a muffled exit, a lover's bladed hand, a wound of night into the world. Each word across my tongue is what I swallow beside a strange ache, a bruise. The words, stay with me, darling. I still love you. Don't worry, I will. 7. Pastel mimicry, as if a hungry scalpel, a muffled exit, a lover's bladed hand through a pink rift, a wound of night spilling into the world. Each word love cleaves across my tongue is what I swallow beside the abuse. The horizon a strange ache, a bruise spreading and fading. The words, stay with me, darling. I still love you from what remains. Don't worry, I will. 8. A muffled exit, a hungry scalpel, a wound through a pink rift into the world, spilling across my tongue. Love cleaves a strange ache, the abuse, the horizon, the words, stay with me, spreading and fading. Don't worry, I will from what remains. 9. A hungry scalpel, pastel mimicry as if through a pink rift, a lover's bladed hand spilling of night. Love cleaves each word. The abuse, the horizon is what I swallow beside spreading and fading, a bruise from what remains. Darling, I still love you. 10. A muffled exit, pastel mimicry as if a wound, a lover's bladed hand into the world of night. Across my tongue, each word a strange ache is what I swallow beside the words, stay with me, a bruise. Don't worry, I will. Darling, I still love you. 11. A muffled exit, a hungry scalpel, pastel mimicry as if a wound through a pink rift, a lover's bladed hand into the world, spilling of night. Across my tongue, love cleaves each word, a strange ache, the abuse, the horizon is what I swallow beside the words, stay with me, spreading and fading, a bruise. Don't worry, I will, from what remains, darling, I still love you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it was so difficult to keep up with that in my head. I won't be reading that again anytime soon. Yeah, so I have a much simpler poem after this one. Thank you again, Open Mouth and Arkansas International and all the people who have already read, everyone who will be reading. It's very lovely to be here. I'm gonna do the thing where I stop talking now, and I'm just gonna read the second poem. It's a cute little love poem. It's called Reverie. There's a pair of keys glinting atop a shelf in the other room, and my heart is bouldered up over my larynx. We're not sitting together at the couch. I'm leaning against your legs. There's a plush beneath my knees. You asked me once of silk, too soft, I lulled. A hand's drifting through my hair, tugging at the roots. Today, I'm learning satin's splendor, a tight ribbon-wristed freedom orbiting my pulse. What is it that you want, love? To be tied is a hypothesis on trust, not if pain should find me, but that if it does, you'll see me through it. Here in the other room lies a miracle I wrap my legs around, my symposium on faith. You haven't hit me in years. Permission is something you learn to accept. I baptize in the giving of it. I'm saying, here for you. I know I'm a good boy because you say I've been, and decisions and choices are synonyms for yours and mine. It's not time to say no. That's the miracle. It's that you give it to me. I want what you want. We rock harder than silver twists above my eyes. There's a pair of clicks, and soon your name is all that fountains from my lips. Everything I know begins with please. Everything I know ends with sir. At the headboard, where my wrists are cuffed, I come to sit beside him atop the clouds. I can breathe. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those poems, Daniel. Yeah, and that first one, like how you kept up with that is beyond me. It was a wonderful reading, and I think like the endings of both of these poems are just like so wonderful, and how they sort of build up to those conclusions are gorgeous. Yeah, so our next poet we have is Michelle.
Hello. I also just want to say thank you so much. This has been such a lovely experience. And I took a very long hiatus from writing and reading poems. And so this has been like a really, really beautiful reintroduction. So thank you. These poems that I'm going to read are about Hawaii. So I'm a native Hawaiian poet, which I'm very proud of. And so this first one is Weaving Us Home. We sleep with all the windows in the house open, sugarcane spiders crawling in and out as they please. The wind comes in from the ocean to wrap herself around us as my father snores heavy into the night. Often I steal away to the garden, where I dance among the yellow and red hibiscus, the soft white pink plumeria lifting their faces to greet mine. My toes dig into the cold earth as stars watch overhead. In the morning, my brother finds me under the banana tree, the sun beginning its rise over the horizon, a fat black and yellow spider weaving her dewdrop web above my head. He carries me still sleeping back into the house. In my dreams, I am small enough to fit in the pocket of his t-shirt. In my dreams, the spider is my mother, weaving us home, and my brother carries me here, lays my sleeping body on the web. So that poem is going to be published in the Arkansas International, which I'm very, very, very excited about. Like I said, that's my first publication since 2019. So I'm really excited about it, obviously. So this second poem I'm going to read is also about Hawaii. Most of my writing is, and this one was published in Plain China, which is a literary magazine out of Virginia, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it's out of Virginia. So this is Somewhere My Father, a Katydid Lullaby. The first time I heard them calling out to one another in the dark canopy of trees, I thought it was my father's snoring, the heaviness of his sleep shaking the doors between our bedrooms, and I thought he was alive then, thought we were there, Maui, home, only we were here, an entire ocean away from that house. Only my father was still dead. Only it was summer in Arkansas, our first summer in Arkansas, the heat and humidity so heavy, so oppressive, we sat and marveled at it. This heat, we would say to one another in hushed voices, this heat. But at dusk, the katydids come hollering in the trees outside the pink house, and I laugh now that I can't remember my father's face or his voice, but still every summer the katydids come calling, and then I am overwhelmed by the memory of lying in my bed, listening to my father's sleep shaking, and now the katydids are at my window again, thrown open as far as it will go, and I'm still learning how to survive another summer of this air so thick you can feel it as it seeps into the smallest gaps of space between your bones, your scalp, your skin. But the katydids are calling me, and my father is still somewhere, sleeping. Thank you so much. This has been a true joy. Thank you.
Yeah, such a pleasure to hear in this space. As Amber was saying, the flower imagery in this first one is amazing, but I just, soft white pink plumeria is a gorgeous mouthful of a combination of words and sounds. The second one is just devastating with the repetition. Your dashes are just so well placed, and I could just hear that over and over again. Thank you for reading that one. It's really gorgeous. Our last opening reader for tonight is Maria Zakola.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here in this star-studded lineup of opening readers. I'm feeling I think somebody said they were starstruck. I'm very starstruck right now. I've spent my whole Sunday editing 4 different anthologies of youth poetry, drama, memoir, fiction. And then to come here is just, I'm just so full up with the passion of the literary tradition. I'm going to read 2 poems tonight. They're both from my debut collection, Helen of Troy 1993, which is forthcoming from Scribner, Simon & Schuster in spring 2025. The first one is called Helen of Troy's Turn to Judge. It was first published in Narrative magazine. Much later, when the clothes were washed and dried, 3 women came in their nakedness, so I could choose from among them the most beautiful. I should say The cat had just pissed on the carpet. Our old cat, a fighting Tom, come in from the wars. And so when the women found me, I was hunched on my knees, pressing paper towels into the shag, the bright crack of ammonia through the air like a train whistle. I wasn't afraid. The women no longer looked like me, so I no longer longed to hurt them for it. I should say that by then the world was already dead. My brothers and cousins, the boys I knew at school, a great cloud that lowered itself across the tobacco, threw its shanks against the window glass, opened the earth in short, dark rips. It's best to put pressure where the pool is deepest. Push your hand down firmly while the gold siphons away. A warm, dripping pad you can bag and disappear. The women were holding small white boxes, and the lid of each box spelled out what was inside in a language without subtlety or art. Knowledge, power, sex, this last picked out in rubies and sapphires, a script that shimmered with a strange inner heat, baking the room, unmaking it. The cat leapt to the kitchen table to bat the surface with unsheathed claws. If there is a mystery to which box was chosen, I apologize. I should have said more. I should have said that music rose from the third box in sweeping arias, that the smell of sea air and thunderstorms rolled from beneath the lid. I should have said that I knew the box because it was mine, given to me as a young girl and kept safe beneath my bed ever since. I was angry. I wanted her bleeding, the woman who had stolen from me, who wore a face that was familiar the way a mountain is familiar, loved so long it softens into background blur. I yanked the box from her hands, but she wouldn't let go. We held it together, she and I, our fingers stroking beneath the base. She seemed glad to share the load. It was a heavy box. I'd forgotten the heft of it, the way it dragged the lower spine like a tumor or a baby. I wondered if she'd ever looked inside. The woman, was she beautiful? It hardly mattered. She'd already turned away, studying the view with a jeweler's eye. The empty yard, the empty drive, the cat-killed sparrow dragged to the stoop. Thank you. The collection reimagines the Homeric Helen in the hills of Middle Tennessee in the early 90s. It's been really amazing to find that voice and write that kind of sustained narrative over the course of a full collection. It's been really exciting. My final poem is called Helen of Troy Returns to Sparta. It's kind of an ekphrastic poem from the study of Helen by the French symbolist painter Gustave Moreau, which is hanging in a museum in Paris. And this poem was first published in Alaska Quarterly Review. In the final mile, I made the cab pull over to get out and walk. I didn't know if a body could survive such a walk. That was the charm of the experiment, that I might die from it and thus render myself the answer to some great mystery. Maybe you have also felt it building inside you, a red pressure within the channels of flesh, a kind of biting heat, this conviction of your own consequence. Crows gathered for our twilight processional. Here was the McDonald's, the Wendy's, the mural with black horses. Here was the turnoff where the kid had her school, the chain link park fence, the dandelions threading through tins of chalk. Above me, clouds pressed into each other's arms and held the rain on their shoulders. And the wind, when it came, scraped away shreds of myself, but at the same time delivered old shreds back to me. Old stretches of skin that fit themselves to the holes I'd been guarding, like jam settling into a canning jar. I turned onto our street. Maybe you are also a person who longs for diagnosis. I thought about our sputtering porch light, how it would blind me, how it would shine through my body in burning spears. Thank you so much. If you heard very loud snoring in the background, that is Rocky the dog.
Rocky is always welcome in the background. Yeah, I think these are wonderful. I think, like CD said in the chat, the conceit of that is fantastic, and how it's playing with myth, and like the idea that we're the ones who make myth anyway is so cool. Like placing these things in different contexts. And I love how the medical is kind of regularly slipping into each of these poems, this sort of like modern medical voice and like ideas. So that is really amazing. I love all of those. Thank you for sharing. And I'm going to pass it back over to CD to introduce Michael for us for tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for those amazing opening readings. So many awesome. I love when folks like intersect, like their poems speak back to each other, like spiders. Like that's always super cool, having multiple spider poems and just thinking about how that comes to be in the world. So thank you so much for sharing your work. Now we are going to hear from Michael Chang. So I'm just going to read their bio, and we'll put their poems in the chat for you to follow along as well. So Michael Chang is the author of Almanac of Useless Talents from Clash Books and Synthetic Jungle from Northwestern University Press. Tap to Edit, Lambda Literary's Emerge Anthology. Their poems have been nominated for Best New Poets, Best of the Net, and the Pushcart Prize. They were awarded the Poetry Project's Brandon Prize and serve as the poetry editor at the acclaimed journal Fence. Very excited to have Michael here with us tonight. Michael.
Hi, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the rest of the readings and was taking notes, and feel so glad to be here. I'm gonna do about a dozen. They're quick though, so some new work which is not in the chat, but they're quick. This one's called Boys Don't Cry. Loose shirt, billowy shorts, athlete hunched over counter, hair pushed back, pure lust light, tears falling, flowers kicked aside, dishes dirty, knuckles brutal, chunks of animal warmed up, big blonde, he could be your son. This one is, let's see. This is called No Convenient Apocalypse. When I saw that pile of books by your bed, I knew I was yours, read the books you read to feel close to you, like someone special. On the bed were the smells. In those years, we lost track of miracles, time breezy and forgettable, dignity flapping in the wind, our own weather, our own country, no passports, nothing at a distance. You're a runner, you're a track star, just expensive gin and peanut brittle. It's dangerous to draw parallels, hiding ourselves, slick dock blizzard, me floating face down, storm-beaten salmon, your talons meeting my neck, the sound of dad smacking mom's ass, something like milk so cold. This one's called Wonderland Coup. In terms of marrying outside the faith, it is permitted. Speak your tenses, reach into your Under Armour. Alt-right Catholic schoolgirl, there is no fear, only Wendy with the pigtails. Chipmunk Paul thinks boys in shorts will be the death of me. I'm sure we'll meet again. The male Heather was extremely professional. I am the one who is Demi Lovato, a mouth for life, my muse. Immense and powerful, your body opens like the bay I have to celebrate. Give me that bitter puntarel. I got caught up, completed some shit. I got caught up, more unfinished business. Do I raise plow or attempt a tenka? It was big then. This one's called Devil Music. Crack your whip, rise to the occasion. It's a fine line between hungry and thirsty. I am my own prey, tamer of words. We know only folly, blow torches and burn holes, some odious appendage. You have success coming, no timing like divine timing. It doesn't have to be LaGuardia or dreams of Pisa. Come on, baby, dry your eyes. I don't hold grudges. Commuter mugs are hideous without exception. To explain bruises, I claim rough sex, apply myself as best I can, painting man's feet as sensational device. Marianne, what a Pharisee. People think I remember, but I'm just dozing. Laura wanted kids to keep reading. Melania wanted kids to stop bullying the blind accumulation of wealth. Reading about itself in a newspaper, a quiet luxury studied in silence and pride open. And then to the doc, let's see. All the huskies are eaten. One day aliens will discover my poems and ask, who is Zac Efron? Do agnostics recognize one another, or is it like Chinese? Great crew, lasting impact. For once in my life, the only apples I want to see in a poem are Adam's apples. If conservatives are supposedly the only ones who love this country, why are their book titles always so doom and gloom? Where is their optimism? I came to poetry even though my family was not really literary. They introduced me music of Neopets when I was around 1.5 years. That has characterized my relationship to language ever since. I realized I could fold it in half and it would still be bigger than your ambition. But I was never into that willy-nilly like Irena Shayk bearding for Bradley Cooper, really unfulfilled. They stare blankly. They are all boys defending champ, holding you almost satisfied on a dish. This one's called Rose and Queer. Actually, I don't think I'd mind you knowing my sweat and sperm like obscure lyrics committed to memory or a cascading fountain after the fall of Gaddafi. I realize it's customary to say I'm giving in to night, but sleep, I'm not the surrendering kind. Take me evening with honeyed limbs. I like how you sometimes come apart, neither cheap nor a thrill, sort of unhinged. Everything sluggish, complications, a consensus choice. Suppose we ignore things that aren't me, roll our eyes at grief and prizes for poets over 40. I read those poems and think you will fuck these poets, fuck the shit out of them. Yes, we know the truth, just do it. Fuck their buck teeth straight. Liz Claiborne headbands all bent out of shape. Dispose of them and remind them you're a fuckboy. Your master cock hopping a chain link fence, leaving them alone with their garbage. Snoozer poems, shivering colors in small towns in italics. Come back to me, give me your stomach, press into me, allow me one small happiness. This one's called In Spite of Ourselves. Save your affection for me, scouts rubbing sticks. I hate your abundance, fall to pieces just thinking about it. Just thinking about it can get me in trouble. Though my tits appear calm, this heaven's big enough for two, like sword returning to scabbard, rolling dung in elephant enclosure. A broken clock is right twice a day. This one's called 1 a.m. Playdate with Chemistry Set. Did you cast a ballot for white boys, their nutrition? So tall and made of cream, the boys go at each other with bats in some misguided macho episode with unfathomable, unbelievable results for the other members of the regional team having gone to law school. Before Roe died, still living that reality, impressive dissertation, first prize and free dessert. Thank you for asking. Every arsonist, every bomb maker has a signature. Most liars have a tell, Adam screaming mighty innards at serpent. This one's called Buzz Cut Hottie. Get a job, stay away from her. That poet is a pest. The blondest ghost linebacker teaching me about racial justice and Civil War housekeeping looks adoringly at himself, although his sweet potatoes are bland. Yet pavement instructs us to harness our hopes on just one person because a harness is only made for one. Dogs are smarter than this man. Meanwhile, contact the Nobel Committee. What I feel for you is so powerful. It could power all the nuclear weapons, which would go off in unison like an orchestra of destruction, a symphony of savagery, and then we could start over, being the only ones left. Such a beautiful thing, Mother Nature. This one's called Handsome Willow. Live a little, asshole, I poke in poem. Golden bell chiming within you, OnStar advisors. Now everywhere, you feel it, Japanese donkey dick, this wedge of belly. Justin can't say how often he wore blackface thinking he was a dove when actually a pigeon, sweaty in all the wrong places. That's lit crit for you, mist faint ripple in grass, and I'm off again. This one's called My First Rodeo. In an era with no cell phones, hazy and romantic, the funny looking dogs have a human mascot, binge movies, chain smoking and eating cake, black dog of depression, wide awake, yellow police dog just doing their job, give good face, perfect spaniel. You're an impossible coast, a landlocked country. I'm kind of a shameless person rummaging through your chest cavity, watering the pots of basil. Realizing I can't only see you once a month, so make sure you wash it before you stick it in the blender. Our cups brimming over, we swim treacherous straits, achy, breaky depths. A couple more. This one called Mind Your Own Business. An eel and a conjure like you very much, or each other. They like each other very much. How your DNA may be 99.9% similar, but you absolutely don't care how it feels to be ashamed of a child and will never live up to your mother's example with those dog shit poems cursing you from her grave or the next room. She doesn't have much time left before her date picks her up, and not being long for this world, the eels are ready for a frenzy. They say you want a new boy in you, looking before doing, like a mysterious cat you confirm only to possess, and seem excited by the prospect, like a cancer that comes back. My door is always open, but never for that. This one's called Fashion Week Nobody. Bitch, you're lost in my corridors. Let me know what you find. Embrace your Clarence clarity. One hand washes the other. No, I don't believe them. You're not a nightmare. You're a regular dream. Breaker, breaker, come to me. When we make contact, I know I won't be able to breathe. Somehow I always bite the hand that feeds. They say you aren't made for this life, and I'm not the person you met that night. Being too fragile, we can take it slow, hide away till tomorrow, package deal at Betty Ford, we just can't quit. And lastly, I think, this one's called No Skips. All bangers, no filler, only young hearts heaving, war apes in jeans painted on with child, so close I can taste it. I swear to God, I'll touch your antlers, cast the deciding vote. You told me you'd never voted Republican. Truth is, you've never voted at all. Now what I want is ginger tea plus the horn buttons off your coat, the way pandas can't get it up in captivity, watching the boys and their Tokyo drift, quick reflexes to stolen intimacies, the decorative males so talented on their knees, exhalations settling like bangs on the right face. I have nowhere better to be, as the junkie's hate is conditional. An average poet would call you devastating or talk about how you are remarkable, both true, but we're better than them. They're tributaries, we're stars, we beat the sun. Sometimes when times are bad, like drifting vessel or disgraced life coach, we wish we'd never met, but we both know that is not true, because if that were true, we wouldn't be here, would we? Thank you so much.
Thank you for reading all of those, Michael. That was amazing to hear and see across the page and watch the interpretation as well. That was just a flurry of energy and really awesome just to see the different ways that these ideas were expressed. I love the associative leaps happening here. That was just led to some fascinating moments of surprise, and then just the things that end up being funny, though the topics are serious and important. So thank you for reading these. Yeah, no, these were amazing. Really wonderful work. Thank you all for coming tonight, by the way. We have been really fortunate to have our opening readers, as well as Michael, to read their work with us. Thank you also to our interpreter. That is an important job that we are very happy to have someone at our events performing this work for us. So thank you for being here. And definitely check out the Arkansas International. The upcoming issue will be featuring some of the folks tonight, as well as Michael Chang's work. And definitely check out Synthetic Jungle from Northwestern University Press. It is an amazing book. Love the cover. Very excited that it is in the world. So thank you all for being here today, and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.